Peace, everyone. Unmasked here. Just thought I'd do something a little bit different. This is my sketchbook that I just kind of doodle in a little bit, practice random things. I don't really talk much on my channel, so I figured I'd start like a little journal and I would just draw in real time. Seems to be kind of popular for people to do drawing videos in real time, so I just thought I would join in the fun. Um, as you can see, I practiced a couple portraits in this so far. No videos of these. Still need a lot of work. This is one of my better portraits, I guess. This is one of my favorite Japanese actresses, Ono Machiko. And then another one of my favorites, Ryoko Hirusue. And then this is one I finished the other day. A lot of people really liked this one. So it's kind of what gave me the idea to do this. I just kind of, I don't know, I did it without any intention of really making it look the way that it does. It just drawing for fun, to relax, and so that's what this is. Nothing else really. So I'm just gonna draw, I guess. Introduce myself a little bit, so you can get to know me, I suppose. As many of you probably guessed, my name isn't Unmasked. It's actually Will, so nice to meet you all. And I'll try to do these videos, I don't know, a little bit often, I suppose, maybe once a week or something. Just to do something new and keep in touch with my subscribers and yeah, talk about random stuff, I guess. I'll try to keep them around a half hour, I suppose. I don't know if anybody would be interested in watching me draw for 2 hours or however long I end up doodling here. I'm just using very thin Prismacolor pencils for now anyway. I'm just drawing a pair of lips, and probably take me, I don't know, a couple weeks to finish, because I'm not really doing it to complete it for any particular reason, just sitting around. But anyway, like I said, my name is Will, and I currently am living in Seattle right now, going to school. Originally, I am from Ohio, a small town in Ohio called New Philadelphia. And that's where I grew up and went to school. Suppose, keeping it drawing related, I guess. I started drawing when I was, I don't know, second grade. So I was 6, I guess. Guess that's about how old I was, 5 or 6 or whatever. I think the first thing that I really put effort in to draw was a dinosaur. And I remember copying the picture from a textbook or whatever, and I just really enjoyed it. I feel like that is my first memory of really enjoying drawing, so thought I'd share that with you. And I was taking art classes, I guess you want to, if you even refer to those as art classes when you're that young. Everybody takes them, finger painting and whatever. And yeah, so that's kind of where I started. Dover Central was the name of the school. And got in trouble for the first time drawing something when I was in second grade also. Uh, had this assignment in art class where we had to do something three-dimensional, and we were given these little sticky tabs that made the picture rise off the paper, and we had to use crayons and watercolors. And I did an underwater scene, and I did some fish and some plants, stuff like that, and probably wondering what did I possibly do to get detention for this drawing. Well, I also drew a mermaid, and the only three-dimensional object that I put in the picture ended up being the mermaid's seashell bra. I didn't think much of it, but my teachers certainly did. And I got detention. Random life story for you, I suppose. You can start to see, maybe, this is coming together. See the outline. I don't know how much I'll be able to finish in a half hour or whatever, but I figured it doesn't really matter. Just thought I'd do it for the fun of it. And if anybody is interested, they can ask me questions. Just leave them in the comments, and next time I do a video like this, I can answer your questions or whatever you'd like. What else? So yeah, that's around 5 or 6, whatever, is when I started drawing. And I can't say that I drew my entire life from that point forward. I'd probably be a lot better if I did, but I didn't, unfortunately. I would say that I probably didn't really maintain a sketchbook till about 6th grade. And for the most part, I just drew cars. That was one of the things that I drew a lot, and I got pretty good at. Never drew people. Goodness, never drew people. And when I did, it was terrible. It was a mess. Like it is today, in fact, which is why I continue to practice constantly. But yes, so that's what I drew, mostly cars, and I did practice shading a lot, which looking back, it's kind of maybe an odd thing to do, but I would draw like inanimate objects and just draw like long cast shadows of imaginary lighting. Drawing cars and focusing on those probably helped my ability to think of objects in 3 dimensions, which a lot of people struggle with. I mean, 1-point perspective, some people really struggle with that. 2-point perspective, or even 3-point perspective, if you know what it is. Most people don't. But yeah, I suppose I have a pretty good concept of 3 dimensions in my mind, which is helpful at times. Not really sure what to talk about. Oh, well, anyways, growing up, yeah. So where am I at? 6th grade? Yeah, drawing cars, 6th grade. Didn't really draw people. And drawing was kind of just an on and off thing. I wasn't really putting a lot of effort into it back then. Of course, I don't know too many people that are putting in that kind of effort at that age unless it's really encouraged, which for me it really wasn't. I just kind of did it for fun in class because I'd rather be drawing than pay attention to my awful teachers. And then, let's see, I would say in 8th grade, I got a little bit more serious about drawing. I changed schools about halfway through my 8th grade year and went to a really teeny tiny school where like the graduating class was like 25 people. It was crazy. And then got into an art class there, and the art class was actually really good for considering how small the school was. The art class was pretty good. Teacher was terrible art teacher, but the projects that she randomly gave, sometimes they were good. I remember doing this maze. We had to draw a maze in 2-point perspective, as though you were looking down at the maze. So you have this 3-dimensional maze that you gotta create, and all the walls and everything have to be in 2-point perspective. And then, of course, she wanted us to shade it, and it was pretty fun. Put some designs in mine. I didn't make mine like anybody else's. I didn't even really make it a maze. It was just a bunch of random walls, really. What else? Yeah, so that art class was pretty fun. I still at that point I wasn't drawing people, but after that 8th grade year, and I went to high school, still took an art class, and I don't remember the guy's name, but he was much more of an art teacher. Like, everybody just kind of did their own thing, and he just gave guidance on whatever you wanted to learn. And he was an all right artist. He was much more cartoon artist, and he had pretty well drawn people. I mean, they were still pretty cartoony, but they were better than my people. And so that's when I started drawing people, because I asked him how. And he showed me a few things. One thing that I really remember from him, though, was drawing hands. And gosh, they were ugly. I could show you. I could show you just how bad they are. Oh gosh, they were so bad. I mean, you can see one in the archives, episode 1. You can see that's one of my first people that I drew, and it's just terrible. But that's where you start off with. You start off terrible most of the time, anyway, unless you're lucky. It just takes practice and time. I would say the most important quality of being an artist or drawing or anything creative it's not even skill. It's just patience. Because I could sit here and scribble really fast and try to draw these lips, but they would turn out pretty badly if I did that. Instead, I'm just going to sit here and doodle, and I'm not even really paying attention to where I'm going with them. I'm just kind of doing one teeny little thing really slowly. Hope that's not too boring for you. But yeah, so he helped me draw hands, and that's what I remember from him. My people were still incredibly terribly looking. He was also like into bodybuilding, which at the time, like being young, I thought it was like really weird that he had these bodybuilding magazines with like huge muscular dudes on it. But he would give me one, and he'd like he'd teach me not necessarily anatomy, but how to draw like muscles. And So I started off drawing guys. I only drew guys. Gosh, females, yeah, I couldn't do it. They would be just just terrible looking, just awful looking. Um, and I think drawing females is the hardest thing to do because the curves and proportions, generally when you're drawing a female, you make them look pretty, at least try to anyway. And those features that make females pretty, in the most general sense, aren't easy to capture well. But for guys, I mean, you can draw them pretty blocky and angular, and it's kind of what sets them apart. And so it's much easier to draw guys, and that's what I started off drawing. And then not too shortly, halfway through my 9th grade year, I moved again and changed schools. Actually went back to the school that I was in halfway through 8th grade year, and met this guy in high school that was a little bit older than me. I think he was like maybe 1 grade or even 2 grades ahead of me, and he was a really good artist, or at least at the time I really thought he was. I mean, compared to my work, he was phenomenal, and really the only exposure I had with a decent artist, with the exception of my sister. She wasn't too bad when she was younger, till she quit drawing for like what feels like 20 years. But he was really good. Huge influence on me. And I have work that I did when I met him, and I can point out the very specific things that I kind of took away from his art and incorporated into my own. Looking back at it now, I think it's not my style. It's not my style at all, but it was still helpful to kind of adapt to his style and then branch off and create my own, really. But he helped me a lot, especially with faces. Gosh, my faces they were terrible in the beginning. Really, really terrible. No sense of proportions. I mean, even now my faces I gotta spend a lot of time on them to get them looking half as good as they do. Especially profile views. Geez, that's the hardest, in my opinion. Profile views, gosh, you don't do them right, they just look terrible. And yeah, so 9th grade, that was really the point where I started drawing, like, exclusively just drawing people. Like, I pretty much stopped drawing the other stuff that I grew up drawing, cars and other random three-dimensional objects. I don't know how many of those older drawings I have of objects like that I always used to do, but also in 9th grade I tried painting for the first time. I tried acrylic painting in my art class, and I suppose it was awful. It was terrible. Like, it was just the worst paintings that you could imagine. And I just kept drawing. I would say that most of my drawing was done throughout high school. And I was just good enough to, I don't know, to get some decent motivating feedback that just kept me doing it over and over again. And what I used to do is I would take regular photos of people, and I would just take the pose and then design my own clothes over top of it and just make it my own picture. I did that quite a bit throughout high school, and just copied everything down to like their hands. And then I would redo the face and just focus on the body language and what the person was doing and stuff like that. And did that for pretty much the whole high school time frame, and just continue to draw people. I almost exclusively drew people. Can't even recall drawing anything other than people throughout high school. It just seemed like the hardest thing to do, and I still kind of feel like that today, because you can draw like an animal or whatever, or a horse or a dog. Maybe not so much a dog, but like there's not too many people that spend a lot of time looking at horses, but pretty much everybody has a dog. And so you make a few mistakes drawing a horse, and most people aren't even going to be aware of it. But you make a mistake drawing a person, I mean, everybody spends all day looking at people's faces and bodies and things like that. And so when you make a mistake on a person, like people see that. Just normal people will see that. But I mean, you draw a mistake on a car. I mean, as long as you have like the proportions right or whatever, then most people aren't going to be like, oh, well, that doesn't look right. And I mean, you still get that effect with people a little bit, but you don't have as much leeway when you draw people, because, like I said, everybody knows what a person looks like. So you make a mistake, everybody's going to see it. So it's got to be a pretty decent mistake. But those are easy to make. Oh, geez, I don't even know what I'm doing here. I don't know what time I started this. I feel like I'm just rambling. You guys got to ask me some questions in the comments, so the next time I do this, I'm feel a little bit more prepared. I'm kind of just doing this like totally random, just like a Friday night, and yeah, just felt like doing something different, I guess. Yeah, so after I graduated high school, I kind of quit drawing pretty much altogether. I mean, maybe occasionally I'd sit down and draw something, but I can't really think of it and how often I really did. My senior year, I spent the whole year working, and moved out my junior year from my parents' house, or whatever it was, 15, I think, something. So like maybe sophomore year. Lived with my sister. And then right after I graduated high school, I joined the Navy. And gosh, there's nothing like being in the military to kill all your desire to draw. No inspiration in an environment like that, I can assure you. So the next 4 years, I didn't really do much artistically. This is one point actually that uh, uh, my first deployment out to sea, and I drew a little bit, designed a couple T-shirts for people, a couple tattoos. Just had my sketchbook, and very rare times that I did get the opportunity to draw. I mean, I didn't actually do too much drawing. I was out to sea for like 8 months, didn't really draw that much. But about halfway through the deployment, one of my senior chiefs saw me drawing, and he asked me to paint a picture up in the forecastle. That's the front of the ship for the not so Navy savvy people out there. And so I spent like 2 months painting this mural, and it was like, I don't know, it was pretty large. Definitely the largest thing I've ever painted. It was a total gamble on my part to even take on the task of doing it. I look at it now and I think how terrible it looks, but people loved it, and that's what matters. And yeah, so I did that. That was a cool project, cool thing to know that I did. And it's still on the ship. It's still on the ship today. So everybody that goes on to Abraham Lincoln knows, or is able to see it. And it's kind of cool to have. And yeah, so that's pretty much the extent of my artistic stuff that I did while I was in the military. Was on the ship for 4 years, and then once I got out, I just started going to school, and when I joined, obviously I didn't stay in Ohio. I came out here to Washington, and started school right after I got out. Like a month after I got out, I started going to college. Originally, I started school to be a psychiatrist, not a psychiatrist, but a psychologist. And then took my first real art class at the college level, painting one, and I turned a lot of heads there with my painting and drawing abilities. I really wasn't expecting. A lot of people liked my work though, and worked with oil for the first time, which I totally love. I wish I had the time right now to work with oil more. But yeah, I did that, and it was a really fun class, and it was a good experience. And some people say that like those taking art classes can kind of destroy your creativity, but I can't say that. I would say that it opened up some unique opportunities. I met some great artists and worked in the studio, which I have a few videos that you can see. And then, I don't know, maybe a year after going to school, I just changed my major to mathematics to become a high school math teacher, which I'm on my way to doing right now. And so I graduated from that community college that I was going to with just my associates, and applied for the University of Washington last year, and I'm in my fourth quarter now, so I have 4 more quarters before I graduate with my bachelor's in mathematics. And then next year I'm going to start my master's program in teaching. But before I graduated from the community college, there was a few commissioned jobs that I had the opportunity of getting before I left, with the help of my teacher up there, because I had a unique ability to do pretty much anything when it came to art. And so my first video on my YouTube channel came out thanks to the purchase of my iPad and my teacher helping me get in contact with the restaurant owner who I painted the sign for. And then the random idea of recording it on my iPad, just kind of propped it up against a bucket and recorded the whole process. And I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I liked the way it came out, and it just, that's how my channel started, and I've just been doing it ever since, kind of. And then it was at the, gosh, what year was that? Been a year and a half ago? Yeah, about a year and a half ago, so about the end of 2013. And then the beginning of 2014, I came up with the idea to just try to draw a picture every week. Like, the limited time that I had, I mean, my math classes were, they still are, they're still really hard. And so I try to get like at least a drawing in a week, and having the motivation to put out a video and get all your kind responses, which I do really appreciate, so thanks for all that. And yeah, so that's kind of where it began, and now I'm got like 70 some videos or something like that, which really doesn't even make sense how I've been able to do it, all the homework and studying I do, but it's worth it, and it's a lot of fun to do. I hope it's fun for everybody to watch. And that's about 30 minutes there, actually a little bit more than 30 minutes, I think. So I'm just going to wrap this up. This is where I got so far in 30 minutes. And so anyways, I hope that you liked this video. I enjoyed doing it, and I hope that some of you have some questions that you can write in the comments, and I'll get back to you in the next video. And I'll try to do this maybe once a week or something like that. And then, anyways, thanks for all the support. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up so I know. And I'll see you later. Take care. Peace.